now is in theory when the series starts. However, yesterday, Dragon X, a team that a lot of people were very excited about, just completely collapsed at this point. It was just an absolute disaster for those guys. And now SANDBOX are staring down the barrel of that possibility once again. As we'll see whether the bans change up, as it was certainly an attack onto Spirit last time, and now SANDBOX have to ban the Lucian and the Misfortune.
We'll see if anything else too crazy happens here in the initial ban phases. Lucian and MF being banned away by SANDBOX. Afreeca banning Syndra, Rek'Sai, and Gangplank.
Gangplank ban is an interesting one. Maybe this means that Akali is the attempted pickup here for the top side, but SANDBOX are going to ban that one away. Might have been something that they thought, you know, could work well.
Aatrox?
I don't know.
Oh, Kiana.
Yep, that's going to be the lock-in, likely for Spirit, but of course can be flexed multiple different ways. I do like it. Spirit, of course, 3-0 on this champion that has only lost 3 times thus far in the KeSPA Cup. Thank you very much for the stats there, KeSPA. SANDBOX looking to pick away the Varus towards the bottom side of the map. Now, Leo has had a much better time. Been playing the same champions as Mystic, but I think everyone on the bottom side of the map has been basically playing the same champions. In Misfortune, if we can get her, then go down to something like either the Senna or the Varus. Been seeing.
Well,
Tahm Kench would be disappointing.
Yeah, nothing's going to change, Alice.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change. I've given up, okay? I've just accepted that this is the way that it is.
Well, sometimes, you know, acceptance is a good thing in these sort of situations. Other times it's better to fight back, but this time I think that, you know, we've done as much fighting back as we can, and we just have to accept that Tahm Kench is here to stay. Timothy Kenshin's bottom side of the map all the time. This is Korea. As that's a Xayah being considered for Mystic, and that will be locked away. So will Jelly be on the Rakan? Last time we actually saw Afreeca Freecs play the Lovers Duo bottom lane, but it wasn't with Jelly. It was in fact when Ben made his way into the roster for the only time that he played. And it is now going to be Jelly's turn to jump onto the Rakan, who we saw be quite disappointing yesterday.
Yeah, and so the Lovers Duo down there in the bot lane. We're going to see what SANDBOX is going to round this draft out phase 1 with. Looks like it's going to be a Lee Song, as he is being hovered.
They can now pinch the jungle after this as well, so make sure that On Fleek has the matchup that he's looking for. But I like that he's not playing Olaf. That's good, especially not picking it in. Of course, it's likely that Spirit's going to be playing the Kiana, so maybe not pinching the jungle could be a good idea. Or you pinch it and therefore try and guarantee that it's going to be a solo lane for the Kiana, or just not a champion that they want to pair alongside it. Something like, you know, Elise Gragas would make some sense, given the fact that if you're going to lane the Kiana, you're going to want to have some magic damage coming out from somewhere else to allow Keen to be as flexible as possible on his champion choice for the top lane.
There's the Elise ban coming in by SANDBOX. Afreeca going to respond with Irelia. So that's a little bit surprising.
Yeah, I wasn't quite expecting the Irelia to be picked back into the Afreeca Freecs, especially after what Keen did on his last game. But just, if Keen doesn't play it, Afreeca just won't let anyone, which I don't mind. And of course, picking the Irelia in, you know, the start of the second round is okay, given her flexible nature. And those are the bans that I was talking about. So I'm getting something right.
Well, the Gragas, yeah, now banned away. And so there's very few magic damage junglers left. But also, I mean, if the Kiana does end up going into the jungle, then you can still just have mages in top and mid lane. So Ryze, Cassiopeia, these are both champions that are still available and on the table. Now Karthus is also a champion that exists, but
that's true.
Sir Tim over there is a bit of a cheater against the Requiem.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Aatrox being considered, of course, is another flex pick. Can go between mid and top lane, and Summit has played 3 games on it thus far and is pretty happy to pick this one up again. So let's see whether it is going to be Summit or Dove that's going to be playing this champion. I expect Summit to be the man piloting the Aatrox, but of course,
Ryze,
still up in the air.
I mean, What I'm assuming is that they're thinking about Rise and Kennen, which is the Korean belief of what you want to answer Aatrox with. It's typically how the meta just ends up going. And we're going to get Ornn. And so this could be jungle Ornn, or it could be mid Ornn.
I like that they're still flexing around with it, but it is likely that Fly is going to be playing this Ornn. He's the one that performed on it most recently and did well in, I believe, the last series against Dragon X. Strange that he was taking the Ornn against the man who was the first to play it in the mid lane.
Oh, man. Well.
Oh, dear. Actually, oof. Yeah,
Okay.
I like the Vladimir a little bit more than the Mordekaiser here. I just feel like Keen would be able to run over the top of the Mord. And let's see exactly where the Vladimir is going, because remember, these solo lanes can be swapped around. Of course, Vlad's going to have a pretty comfortable time against the Ornn, and the pool is so valuable against the Call of the Forge God.
Yeah. The pool is really, really nice. And I mean, Ornn versus Vladimir, it's pretty rough for Ornn up in top lane, but in mid lane, it's a little bit more manageable, but obviously Vladimir still has the edge inside of the matchup, so Dub should be just fine on that. But in terms of overall team composition, so you have Qiyana, who's going to get one of the lethality upgrades from Ornn. You have the Infinity Edge that's able to be upgraded on Ornn. And obviously Rakan, depending on what he's going to end up getting. Redemption is usually the support item that gets upgraded.
Yep.
Kennen with the Zanya's Hourglass. So with Ornn in the team, Mountain Dragons, or Mountain Souls for that matter, have to be really respected and scary, basically, if you're going up against it. But the amount of scaling on Afreeca is so much stronger than that of SANDBOX. So yet again, SANDBOX find themselves on a clock.
See whether they can make that clock work for them this time around. SANDBOX were picking fights when they shouldn't have been, just a little bit too early in game number one, and the game snowballed completely out of control from that one moment. If they can avoid that, there's a chance that we will make this into a series, and SANDBOX can even it out. Afreeca do have a composition that looks pretty comfy on paper. Let's see how they do as we get into game two. I think there was some chance. I just think that, to be honest, our in-ears are not giving us all of the audio.
Yeah.
So you guys, you can report back to us to whether or not you guys heard the fan chants. But I didn't hear too many fan chants there from ULSAN. Let's see whether the fans get into it as we move further into this series. And honestly, you can imagine that there might be some fans that are a little bit unenthused if they're on SANDBOX's side, because game number one certainly did not go as intended. But Afreeca need to buck the trend. This Zyrakan has not been working so far in the KeSPA Cup. It's been certainly losing a lot more than it's been winning. So let's cross our fingers a little bit, see whether Mystic and Jelly can rearrange the stat lines for these particular bottom lane champions.
The thing that's going to be really scary as well is that SANDBOX, they're not going to have a lot of summoner spell. In the later stages of the game, Fly can have up to 3, realistically, inside of a team fight. He can have his Flash become available, he can have Exhaust, he can have Ignite,
Yep.
and that's all just coming from his spellbook. Varus with the teleport on himself. Tom having Guardian instead of spellbook just has the Exhaust and whatnot, and so Ocean Dragon is the first one of the game, and so if you're an Afreeca fan, what you'd probably like to see is something along the lines of Ocean, Infernal, Mountain, or Ocean, Cloud Dragon, give it over to SANDBOX, and then Mountain.
Yeah, I actually think that, like, when it comes to stacking dragons, I think Mountain and Infernal are by far the best, because as you get those percentages up higher, then it's not doing that measly, I'm going to give you 3 armor or something like that. And especially in the case of Afreeca, who do have a dedicated tank in this Ornn. Yeah, Mountain is certainly one that they will be wanting to stack. See whether SANDBOX are going to be able to actually command some control here in this earlier game. I think that this is a game that doesn't undulate quite as much when it comes to the power level. I feel like SANDBOX will be able to come online a little bit earlier, despite having the Vladimir here, who does want to be scaling.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll just see what On Fleet can manage to do early on. These are lanes that, again, they're so hard to realistically gank for. I criticized this yesterday about the Lee Sin, that there's so many matchup dynamics that are just very rough. Now he's looking for this.
Yep, Spirit's going to dash on over, though. And the flash in, not going to be able to get his blue buff. So Spirit uses a summoner spell for absolutely no reason. Keen coming on down. He's got a full energy bar as the Lightning Rush does come forward, but not going to be able to get the stun. Didn't have that one primed on his auto attack just yet, as now Fly in a little bit of trouble. And you were talking about what On Fleet can get done. Well, he's already started off pretty strongly, taking down the flash from Spirit and stealing away the blue buff. That is a 3-buff start now available for the Lee Sin, who will move over to his own blue buff in due time after taking this Rift Scuttler. So good start here for SANDBOX and showing that they're not as rattled as they otherwise could have been in this game number 2.
Yeah, everything is going pretty well so far. Now Lee Sin, though, going to give away, I believe, his location with the Scryer, although we didn't see any pings on the minimap, so maybe the sparkling dust wasn't noticed by some of the players.
Yeah, we certainly saw it, so maybe they just verbally communicated it. As there are pings in this mid lane. Fly maybe just not super happy with how things are going, but he did nail picking up that cannon minion and isn't behind too far. As far as the farm, I could imagine that Vladimir in the early game going to be having a pretty good time against the Ornn, given the range advantage.
Interestingly, Vlad actually just elected for a Ruby Crystal start rather than something like a Call, which is a little bit surprising, especially because the Kiana can't really gank for the Ornn all that well. So not going to have the most greedy of starts going on here. And meanwhile, up in top lane, Summit doing just fine against Keen in the Aatrox versus Kennen matchup. But again, we're waiting for mid-game explosiveness. But Afreeca, they're fine to just wait and allow the game to sort of scale on.
Yeah, and they're pretty comfortably doing it, especially here towards the bottom side of the map, looking at Jelly and Mystic just picking up farm underneath the turret. 5 CS behind as that Cheetah Recall that we talk about all the time is going to come in. Teleport available from Leo. He's going to have that advantage, so moves towards the lane once again with that and has a dagger and a Vampiric Scepter to try and help win out in this laning phase. And already the bottom lane certainly could be a point of power for SANDBOX.
Well, Jelly and Mystic here looking to maybe get a little bit aggressive. I don't know what Spirit is.
Just trying to help shove this wave forward, I guess.
Yeah.
Try and get Mystic and Jelly a decent back timing. They should be able to do so, as we'll see whether Gorilla's going to be able to hold on to this wave. You can see it can be a little bit rough for the old Lovers duo up against the Varus to try and get that wave to shove, because Varus just clears out minions so very well with the Hail of Arrows and as well the Piercing Arrow. He's on Fleek now slinking towards the bottom side of the map. And
not all that much happening. I mean, the Ocean Dragon can definitely be started after maybe the Scuttle Crab by On Fleek. His bot lane is recalling.
yeah, actually, they get that wave shoved in, so going to be able to go home for free. Is Keen going down pretty low here, as he is up in farm by quite a large margin. However, not necessarily winning when it comes to pressuring Summit away from this minion wave.
He's up 4 CS right now at the end of it all.
Yep.
There were 6 minions for Summit to just pick up with his Qs. And Merktread's first item for Summit as well, so getting that tenacity against the Kennen.
And also didn't have to use the teleport to get back to the lane as well, and does stay even in farm. So certainly huge kudos going over to Summit, navigating this Aatrox matchup so well. And of course, this is a champion that we basically know Summit for, right? He is the Aatrox guy of the LCK. So good to see that he's still showing all of that mastery very comfortably on this pickup. See how he works it into team fights as this game goes on. Because, of course, SANDBOX have themselves a composition that certainly wants to get those 5v5s happening. And Afreeca going to be building towards a similar thing. So this game, based on how the first few fights go, could be over very, very quickly. Keep your eye out. Flanking potential of this Vladimir is very high.
Yeah. Well, we're in a bit of a lull state right now, so let me ask you the real important question. Are you excited for 3 days from now?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Did you watch the recent ones again? Maybe.
I mean, I watched them when they came out.
Did you hear Valdez yesterday say that he's not going?
Yeah, I didn't really understand.
Yeah,
I thought was that banter? I think that was banter.
No, I don't think it's banter.
He's definitely coming to the
well,
movies.
he's coming one way or another.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Last Sith. I gotta make some things happen over here in order to pull him over to the. We're going to ULSAN, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the iPark.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
I like that.
Fantastic. It's a date.
Yeah. Remember we tried to go there?
Yeah, and we were. What happened? It
The
was my
movie
fault.
wasn't on. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at the wrong theater.
And then we went to Sinchon instead, and that was fine. We nailed it. We got
did.
there in the
We
end.
did.
We got there in the end.
We did.
We saw it too, and it was great.
It was fantastic.
Actually,
I love the popcorn.
to be honest, when it comes to remakes of movies like that, especially one where I think that movie was almost completely about how good Tim Curry was.
Yeah.
The original It movie. Sequel to a remake of that kind of movie is normally something that I stay away from, but I was actually, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, they really did nail the remake. A lot of the more recent remakes have failed.
Yeah, there
To
certainly
really
has
hit
been
the
some
mark.
that haven't worked, yeah.
And I don't know what that really is. Like the Michael Myers one recently, Halloween. Did you see it last year?
Oh, no, I didn't see it.
Oh, don't.
Not so good?
Just don't.
Wait, Mike Myers as in Austin Powers? Myers?
No, Michael Myers, Halloween.
Michael Myers different, okay.
The guy with the white mask.
Yep.
And the blue overalls.
I didn't watch a lot of horror
Really?
early on because I got really scared. I was
Really?
I couldn't watch horror movies until I was 28, I swear. Just couldn't really handle it. Speaking of not being able to handle things, that's a quickness flash as Leo, he's burning down, but I don't think he's going to die. Last tick, not enough as Summit comes on in. Keen with the slicing Maelstrom does find on Fleek there as the Ram smashes his way forward, but he's unable to actually pick up any kills just yet. Q comes down as Fly's trying to get in there, still has a flash available, but no one is dead. We mentioned that these team fights are going to be so important, and still, we haven't learned who's going to be able to come out on top, as Afreeca are at least able to take away some turret plates and will not bite off more than they can chew, unless Spirit is going to dive in, looks for OnFleek, who doesn't get that one, as Mystic has to use the flash to get out of the way, but still, everyone survives.
And so this ends up just being a relatively even team fight, but because Afreeca stick around for as long as they did and just posture for 120 gold.
On
split,
Fleek.
they end up losing behind. They're losing out on tempo now. SANDBOX, they're going to start the Ocean Dragon.
Yeah, a lot of vision control now for Afreeca as there's the flash in and on Fleek. He thought that they'd gone back. They hadn't, by the way.
He's probably really mad right now. He's probably seething.
He'd be seething in that death chamber.
Yeah, he definitely would.
Oh, yeah. Yep, not so good. But he took the risk, and he was punished for it. So that is the first kill going over to Afreeca. First Drake as well as the next one is going to be that cloud that you were talking about. Our prediction on Dragon so far today has been real good.
My coat's off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
I'm here to play today.
Yeah, we might be getting extra buttons undone on this shirt as well. It's, if these predictions continue the way they are going.
Don't threaten me with a good time. The viewers can't see it, but I can.
Threaten me with a good time. Oh, my God.
All right.
Regret, instant regret.
What?
Keen very close to his Hextech Gunblade up there towards the top side, but he's falling behind in farm just a little. Summit with his Caulfield's Warhammer building towards his Kindle Gem for that added CDR as we will be picking up Black Cleaver quite soon. He even gets himself a Rift Scotland. Nice stuff.
Well, so far, so good for Afreeca. Even though they're down 100, 200 gold, that doesn't really matter. Their champions are better the longer that the game ends up going on. Orin, you can already see, has the Abyssal Mask. Probably will go into Sunfire Cape next. It just would make the most sense.
Yep.
Even
the
though
Forge Fire Cape opportunity there.
Sunfire by itself isn't a good item, but when you upgrade it with Orin, it's a good item. It's like going from bronze to gold.
Ooh, nice.
You know, that's exactly what that's like. Now, if Keen dies here, this would actually be pretty bad. Atrox moving up, Tom around here as well. Keen sniffing this out, knowing that, hey, there's absolutely no reason for me to die right now. It also has the ward inside of the river.
Yep.
Playing super, super safe. And, well, this isn't fair. The magic resistance Orin going up against the physical damage Atrox, that's just not a balanced matchup.
Yeah, I did like that they went for the swap, though, is now Spirit thinking about coming over to try and challenge.
They're dragging Leo over with the teleport, and this is a 13.5 minute.
That's the flash in as well from Keen. Slicing Maelstrom is there as it is, in fact, Gorilla that takes down Shelly. And now a huge ult onto 4 members. Gigantic knock up there from Fly, but not quite enough. A 1-for-1 so far in this team fight. Mystic trying to catch up to the Tahm Kench, but Timothy is walking exactly fast enough. Oh, not quite in the end, as now OnFleek gets over the wall and manages to pick up Shelly. So all is not lost.
Well, he's on a James Bond mission.
Yeah, he's trying to get there into that mid lane to try and steal away all of those plates. You can see Lightning Rush now coming out from Keen to try and catch up.
No.
But he doesn't press the button.
No.
Damn,
no.
that was close to such a cool thing.
The Herald. The plate.
Hello?
That's Lickitung. You ever play that game in Pokemon Stadium?
Oh, yes!
You know that game? You know the Lickitung game?
Yeah, Lickitung's Lick, where you have to like get the right foods.
The rice and the...
Oh, man, that game was
that's exactly
great.
what that was. But anyways, all right, well, we'll talk about that right after this team fight. So, you see the Call of the Forge God coming in, slicing Maelstrom, just missed on hitting the Lee Song as well. As Summit trying to get in here, but a 5-man, or 4-man, I guess, true display of talent right there by Spirit on the Kiana, locking everyone up and just allowing for the other members of Afreeca to turn this fight around. Sir Thomas ends up going down shortly thereafter. He's stuck in a freeze frame.
I love our observers so much.
But Lee Sin didn't summon the Rift Herald. Now, let's say that he picks up 2 turret plates with that. That's 240 gold.
Yeah. And turret plates are now gone.
Right, and now he's just going to get the same gold that he would have gotten had he captured a turret later, and for no added effect. And you know what? He's not even going to get it.
Yeah, no.
Disappointed. I'm going to give him an F.
Yeah, they just don't have the turret. Okay. Well, so that was just 100% the wrong thing to do. Afreeca now have themselves a slight gold advantage, but not quite up to 1,000 just yet, or anything to write home about, is now Spirit. He's going to get kicked back, and the teleport is going to deter OnFleek from going too aggressive here. Spirit, not exactly the tankiest unit right now, with just a Serrated Dirk and his Warrior enchant. So it does need to be a little bit careful, but this wave is going to get shoved in. And Afreeca Freecs now focus on trying to answer what Dove is doing bottom lane and keeping these waves in order towards the top side of the map. There's another engage from Jelly, but he needs to start trying to actually land that grand entrance onto Gorilla, as the Chains of Corruption were there as the response. So that is now a bigger button on cooldown over in the SANDBOX camp.
Yeah, and I mean, everything is just going so well right now for Afreeca here again in game number 2. Cloud Dragon is up.
Yeah, World Ender has been popped as well. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's, in fact, 2 pretty key ultimates for these next upcoming team fights. Now, not going to be there, as the Cloud Drake should be taken here just for free. And you can see SANDBOX identifying the fact that without Chains of Corruption, they didn't even have the teleport on the Varus, so he wasn't even able to get down there. So just a free Drake, and now the Infernal has turned up. So perfect Dragon predictions here for what our friend LS wanted to see, especially if Afreeca was going to get all of them, and it looks like they are on track to do so, at least so far. Is this outer turret in the mid lane also going to be taken? Just Afreeca have too much pressure all over this map, and honestly, it looks like SANDBOX doesn't quite understand how to answer it.
Yeah, I mean, the other problem is that every minute that is passing right now, the champions on SANDBOX slowly get less effective than their counterparts on the other team. So it's definitely not a very comfortable situation. Now there's no neutral objectives up. This is normally the part of the game where I talk about the magical F word.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Freezing.
Ah.
I said it. I saw you blush.
I thought it was something else.
Don't worry.
I'm going to talk about.
But probably not going to end up seeing that happen, but nonetheless, no real reason for either party to team fight. So we're gonna get ping pong for about 3.5 minutes, we're gonna have some ping pong going on. So what
All
what would you like to talk about? Pull a topic out of the hat.
Well, we've done the movies thing thus far, haven't we?
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of holiday plans or anything like that before LCK starts?
Well, I might, and I'm figuring it out. I might actually go back to America very briefly because I gotta
Ooh.
go to Beckett grading services.
Okay.
I gotta
Oh,
get.
I'm just gonna hold that. Oh no, never mind. Battle Dance is pretty busted.
Yeah. Back to it. Yeah. So
There you go.
I gotta go there. It'll be my second time going to Texas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I've never been to Texas.
Yeah. I only went there once. About 7 years ago.
I
8
know a
years
lot of
ago
nice
almost.
people from Texas. I should probably eventually go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you can let me know exactly what I should be doing while I'm in Texas.
Okay.
I'm not super good at it. I'm thinking about visiting Australia as well, but I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah. Don't get burned.
Yeah.
There, Atlas. What?
It's looking a little bit disastrous. My heart certainly goes out to all of you guys. If you are watching from Aussie land, make sure you stay safe. It is very dangerous.
How
I just
is
hope that we get through.
near your hometown doing?
So I'm from Melbourne,
Mm-hmm.
sort of not the outer suburbs, but like about 30 minutes by car away from the city. So, you know, it's getting closer than we would be comfortable with. As there's the kickback, Spirit has to flash and is able to survive. I actually thought that he was just straight up dead there as Dove tries to flash in. He gets the Hemo Plague, but it's not going to be enough damage. And Spirit's going to survive. Well, that was way closer than expected. This guy does have 2 needlessly large rods, but I think they could be a little bit larger.
I actually wonder if Ocean Dragon just came into play right there.
Oh my
That
goodness.
would be. That's really.
If they had a Mountain Drake, we would definitely
Oh,
be
yeah,
talking
we
about
would.
how the Mountain Drake was relevant.
Yeah, it was.
That 2 MR nailed it.
Oh man.
It's exactly what they needed in order to survive.
Yeah, Dub couldn't account for that one.
No. The calculation was a little bit off.
Yeah, the unseen Mountain Drake's the deadliest. So, Rabadon's death cap almost completed. Now, the other really sad thing about that is I feel like Dub is kind of tilted. He was willing to flash for 300 gold when an Infernal Dragon's up in 2 minutes. So, apparently he values the 300 gold right now more than winning the Infernal Dragon team fight and getting the amplification for his stats and his teammates.
Yep.
So a little bit surprising to see him make that decision. He does have the death cap complete, so it's not even a question on if he needed that gold in order to get it.
And I actually thought that maybe if he was going to complete a Spellbinder first, then he'd have more flanking ability with the extra movement speed, something like that. But now he's just gone the full damage route, so he would really like to have that flash in order to flash into this team fight and get that big burst damage. Not going to have as much of that utility as we were talking about as Jelly. Not going to join Mystic as he goes back home. And he's looking for that Infinity Edge as the next item.
I'm really curious what Orin's gold is right now. Can he actually get to the Sunfire build before this Infernal ends up taking place? Because it is such a large upgrade when he ends up getting it. He's already... Oh, he's level 13. Oh!
That's the kickback.
Cancel.
He's going to flash the Chains of Corruption, though, as Gorilla. He Abyssal Voyages, but doesn't actually find any sort of flank. Fly went the correct direction, as now the turret does fall. Bottom side of the map. Mystic continuing to push, and Keen is by himself top lane, threatening with that teleport. Remember, it's Infernal Rift, so now Spirit not going to have as much option when it comes to catching people in the jungle and using that Supreme Display of Talent, as Summit is just going to face check him. That's not exactly what they want, but Summit is going to be all right. Spirit's still very squishy as the vision is being cleared out, and Dove is in position. Jelly finds him, gets the knock-up, and now the teleport coming in from Keen. Fly gets one of the knock-ups as the Supreme Display of Talent does come down. He steals the Drake. I think that was with a smite that he picked up earlier, and now Keen is just going to try and do his best to rip everyone to shreds. The next one on the menu is going to be that Catfish, and it's going to be Mystic that has that for breakfast, as now deep behind enemy lines is the Aatrox, who just gets pummeled by Spirit. And Afreeca are making this game number 2 look very similar to game 1 very quickly.
And I mean, this is really, really nice to see their formation, their setup, everything surrounding this Infernal Dragon. Now, obviously, SANDBOX, they should have been able to secure the Infernal all things considered. We're going to take a look at the replay of it. So
I think
you can
he chilled
see,
on like 5 health for a really long time.
I think he got it with Bellows Breath. So take a look at it one more time. Ornn, yeah, he doesn't have... It's Bellows Breath that ended up killing.
It was at 51 health. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so Cannon comes in with the flank, and there's just too much for SANDBOX to juggle. And this is a byproduct of a team composition that needs to be ahead of its opponents, now being behind, and it feels so scattered because it doesn't have the ability to just go from point A to point B because it's lacking the damage. It doesn't have what it needs to just plow through in one fell swoop. And so they find themselves in a little bit of a rut. At the end of the day, best case scenario for SANDBOX there was get Infernal Dragon, maybe trade a kill. But it's still a doomed situation. Now they're staring down Infernal Soul, 27 minutes, and they're also staring down the possibility of losing a Baron. Ornn items are able to come in at any second. I don't know what it is in the LCK, but whenever Ornn is available and able to... Okay, never mind. I think he just built it.
Yeah, no, he does have the Forge Fire Cape. That's totally fine, and the Molten Edge just came in for Mystic. So that is a huge power spike, and I believe that's what you were talking about. Dove now looking to try and escape this, but there are 4 bad guys coming, and the Q doesn't land from on fleek. I just don't think the Hemomancer is going to be able to do too much. Does have the pull down, but yeah, just doesn't last long enough, as now just going to be going into the ground. It's a pretty terrifying death animation, honestly, as Vladimir, of course, ends up as just a small puddle.
Yeah.
Is his corpse. Definitely, Vladimir, a fantastic champion if your computer isn't so good. Doesn't take up any polygons when he's dead. No worries at all.
Well, right now it just really looks like the game has been run away with. There's no real way to get onto Xayah for SANDBOX's team composition. 2 stopwatches also out on Afreeca.
That's a supreme display of talent, but on fleek does go golden. Great knock up there. And Gorilla eats his Lee Sin, keeps him alive, but I mean, yes, we could be talking about the great escape, but honestly, it's just not quite enough. As the inner turret still falls. Summit's able to get a split push here on the bottom side, so he gets himself this inner turret, but in the meantime, Afreeca are taking away all of SANDBOX's jungle, and that's exactly what they did in game number 1. They deny the majority of the gold on the map that can be taken by either team, and this gold lead will just continue to extend and extend. And when SANDBOX come to fight them in a minute and a half around this Dragon Soul, it's just going to be too much of an advantage for Afreeca, because it's already getting towards that time where Afreeca will just have more items and more money. Because this gold lead that you can see on your screen right now, it's to the tune of about 4K, but with 3 Ornn items, that's what, like 7?
Yeah. So this is where things start getting really scary. We assume Qiyana going to probably pick up Yumu's Ghostblade next.
I hope so, yeah.
Would be what I would expect. And then once Qiyana has that available, that's just another quick, easy Ornn upgrade. I assume that Rakan is going to get Redemption. And so all of these items are just adding insult to injury. And I like this. 50 seconds until Infernal Soul. And once Afreeca has that, there's no coming back for SANDBOX. They will never win a fight again.
Well, Afreeca just walks towards the Infernal Soul. They grab that one, and then they just transition immediately to the Baron, set up a potential siege, and win the game. And if ever a counter-engage happens, Fly is going to exist, right? He has over 3,000 health. He has so much disengage potential as Summit's going to dive in looking for this fight. SANDBOX do need to find some way of deterring Afreeca from being near this Dragon Pit. You can see Fly hasn't switched over to a smite of any kind. Spirit doesn't have flash, as he does have invisibility. Now Summit's looking for Jelly, but doesn't find the Infernal Chains. And now the posturing begins. 8 seconds on this clock as now Keen in flanking position. Summit also there, but now Dove is going to come in from the side. Spirit being very careful. Supreme Display of Talent doesn't find anything. Kickback there from OnFleek, but putting Keen towards your team is not what you want to do, as Fly's trying to get out of there. OnFleek is going to fall now, though, and that's a great knock-up. The quickness is there as well. It denies any pull opportunity. The GA is immediately popped, and so are the hopes of SANDBOX Gaming in this game number 2. Infernal Soul on a silver platter, if you would like, sir, and is going to be eaten up here right now. Afreeca can go to a Baron if they want to, but they could also probably just go and win the game if they would like.
They likely can just win the game with this Infernal Soul. I mean, no chance for SANDBOX to come back in this game. Now, normally, last time I made comments like this in one of the series, some people got a little upset. That
A little
I called
miffed?
It, yeah, a little, little ticked off, you know.
All right,
But really, this is a 99%. This is the absolute. It is inconceivable to think SANDBOX can win.
Yeah.
This is going to be Baron, Infernal Soul, better scaling, higher base levels across the board, every single champion. There's really no reason to expect that they should be able to come back in this game. And so, Ord Ultimate, I mean, it's looking like myself personally, you know. Couldn't really do too much. But Lee Sin getting dogged down by Pikachu at the top right there. The quickness locking in everyone. Guardian Angel goes down, which means that Summit is not going to have an item.
I'm just really
available.
glad. Like, also, I mean, we have to remember that this is Jelly. This is the guy that's been playing only Braum and Tahm Kench every single game, and finally he's been unlocked now. Has that redemption that you were talking about. And the way that he navigated that engage was just stunning. There was no opportunity for Dove to be able to use his pull whatsoever, and that was because he got the grand entrance, then perfectly timed the quickness to make sure that the knock-up and charm were not overlapping too much and didn't give Dove any opportunity to press that button. So really clean mechanics. The thing that really sort of shows that Afreeca are in such a dominant position for me is the fact that they had 4 stopwatches that they bought for that exact team fight and didn't need any of them. Yeah,
and I mean, they still have them, which is just absolutely disastrous right now for SANDBOX, because the only maybe SANDBOX could win a 5 versus 4, and that's a maybe.
Yeah,
that is how large the gap is currently inside of the game.
I think 5 versus 3 is possible.
5 versus 3. If it's
oh no, Bellow's Breath
man.
stops the Lee Sin kick. Supreme display of talent, just annihilates the Aatrox. Now the quickness comes forward. That's going to line them all up, as that's the ace as fast as possible. Comes through, triple kill there for Mystic. And this Afreeca Freecs roster, if you were sleeping on them in the preseason like the majority of us, it is time to wake up. This squad is legitimately going to be an exciting contender for 2020.
Yeah, and I mean, they're dominating so well here today. SANDBOX has only got 2 kills in 2 games. And you know what else